Hi, if you are well experienced with No Man's Sky and would like to skip ahead just for the tutorial, here's the timestamp to go straight there. But I still do recommend watching the whole video because it's not just a tutorial and you may enjoy it. Thank you. No Man's Sky over the past 8 years has shown us that humanity's itch for exploration and colonization is far from over. To venture out and explore new worlds that our cosmos has to offer is a want that many of us share.
Hell yes.
But unfortunately, we're not there yet. We are still bound to the world that has given birth to all of us and are left to use our imagination to ponder what could be out there. So, to scratch this itch, it's just simulations for the most of us, using tech made almost a decade ago. I'm sure we're all familiar with the failure and comeback of No Man's Sky. I mean, if you haven't watched Internet Historian's video about the topic, I'd like to welcome you to the World Wide Web, but Hello Games has been hard at work, evolving their games to heights that no other game has seen. But in my opinion, one of the biggest moves that they made was giving their game a VR port. And this game on the surface is already huge. Gigantic life-size planets with a modest number of 18 quintillion of them to explore, but it's not just the numbers and sheer distance of these planets that make this game seem so big, but it's the interactivity to each planet and system. Such as you land on a planet you like and you build a little base to start, and after a while of modeling you start to like your little body of work. But to make it better you need to add some advanced tech, and this requires certain special materials. You venture out to gather resources, you discover old relics of past civilizations and crashed freighters to loot along the way, and then you finally build your new equipment, but you need power to get them running, and using a fuel generator and constantly needing to refuel it is getting lame. And it's not the 1920s anymore, so you build solar panels and get all the wires hooked up. But oh no, the planet actually rotates around its axis, giving it a day and night cycle, so your solar panels don't work at night. So you hook up your solar panels to batteries, so the solar panels continuously charge the batteries, and the batteries keep you powered through day and night. You put up lights, doors, storage units, and crafting terminals. You attract workers to research more tech for you. Everything becomes automated and designed to exactly your liking, and then you decide to show some of your love to your ship to get it some upgrades. You hop in your ship to go to the space station in your system to talk to the ship merchant there. You take off and leave the planet's atmosphere, and when the sky dissipates and you see the darkness of space, it all hits you. Floating up in space, you look back at your planet and the size of it engulfs your view. And from up here, no matter how much work you put in, you realize how insignificant your base is. And seeing all the other planets floating by, knowing that they are just as approachable as yours, you realize how unremarkable your planet is, and that you are getting comfortable in the area that you are inhabiting, but up here, you realize how small you really are. The number of different planets out there, being able to build and call one your home, and all of it being in VR, now that's a triple layer cake of immersion if I've ever seen one. But of course me, a guy who can't seem to accept things at surface value, I wanted more. I wanted to find out if there was any way to go deeper into this new universe. With half of the game actually being spent in your spaceship, getting used to the VR controls was a little challenge. And it mainly had to do with that the flight controls is actually controlled by your motion input and not something like your thumbsticks on your controller. I'm actually a big fan of virtual controls. I like the freedom that it gives in some games, that you're able to interact with things uniquely and not be bound to dumb button presses. But this, quite frankly, just sucks some space balls. So I decided to get a real flight joystick to take my immersion a step deeper. And not to break the bank, I bought this guy on Amazon for $20. I was getting pretty excited thinking about flying through the galaxy with a real flight sim. And after it arrived, I unboxed it, and imagine my reaction when I learned that No Man's Sky has no official joystick support. I cannot believe that such a massive game with a huge importance on spaceflight and even being in VR did not have joystick integration. It made me sick to my stomach. I thought, what monster could let this happen? I was desperate for an answer, a workaround, just some way to use this joystick. I went online to find my answer. I found a video tutorial, but damn, out of date. A Reddit thread on the No Man's Sky subreddit, it was all filled with no answers. It seemed like a dead end, but I couldn't give up now. I wouldn't be able to look myself in the mirror if I did. I was gonna crack this case no matter what. And to uncover the truth, I had to go to the source. Sean Murray. Even if that is your real name, you seem like a happy individual. I mean, you look well. You've been having a lot of success recently. But I see right through that, Buster. And I'm gonna make you spill. The quiet type, huh? How about I show you some photos? Remember this? Launch day. Not a pretty day, was it? I mean, the critics, the meta review scores, the slam pieces. It must have made you really mad, huh? You could have run away. I mean, you made a bunch of money, but no. You sought to win them over. First update. Base building. Not bad. And after a lot of bug fixes and added content, you implemented VR and multiplayer. You were really turning your image around. I mean, people were really immersing into the world that you've created. But there was always that one thing that connects the player even more. I mean, space game where you fly around. That's right. Joystick support. Where is it, Murray? After all of these updates, multi-platform crossplay, overhaul story and lore, on-planet settlements, we even caught some of your boys making another game, Sean. The Last Campfire? Does that ring a bell? You want to know what I'm thinking? I think you're holding out on us on purpose, aren't you? You still hold resentment for all the hate that your game got on its release, and you want to string the people along because you want the control now. Is that it? Huh? It's all about power, is it? Is this how you get your kicks, you sick fuck? Answer the question! Damn. You're good. I just didn't know what to do, and after hours of searching, I found a Steam forum post explaining how to configure a joystick as a Steam controller to use in the game. I followed the guide and booted up the game and pressed my joystick's trigger, and then I found it. I found a way to use the joystick, but nobody is talking about it. Barely any guides or videos have come out about this, and this has been an ongoing problem for several years. But even with a $20 piece of plastic, flying around the galaxy has never felt better, and has made me nearly double my playtime. Nice. No more wrestling with the VR controls anymore, because now you have the full control that a HOTAS system has to offer. Oh shit. We're pod racing now. And for some of you who are asking, Beaks, why don't you just play Elite Dangerous that has actual joystick support? To what I would respond, sure, but if I wanted to spend all my time overshooting my destinations flying past gigantic balls of mass, I'd rather drive past your mom's place. But unlike Elite Dangerous, No Man's Sky by any means is not a space simulator. The ratio of planets that have life is wildly unrealistic, and the very arcadey spaceflight is like something out of Star Wars. And though I love gritty realism, as of right now, when it comes to a game that is centered around space, there is no place I'd rather be than the No Man's Sky universe. No Man's Sky oozes with lore and story, and you explore not just the mysteries of space and different planets, but the mysteries of the different aliens and factions that inhabit it. The fates of crashed freighters or infested outposts to the mystery of the Sentinels and the Anomaly gives the added history to the world around you, so it makes you feel part of it instead of feeling like the universe was just created when you logged in. And with the reality of space being depressing, No Man's Sky plays what I believe to be everyone's dream scenario of exploring the universe. The game gives you meaning and something to work for other than yourself, and strapping a VR headset like it's a space helmet and gripping that joystick like it owes you money just lets you live out all of your heroic space fantasies. This 4D experience is something so special, and it even translates the amazement into the world, because now you don't have to be looking down at the imaginary controls in the cockpit. It's now a physical thing that you get to touch, and once you get the feel for things and it all becomes second nature, it gets your eyes off of your ship and into the world around you, and you get to see the amazing wonders that No Man's Sky creates. I like how everyone here's got some like sleek fighter jet looking spaceships, and I'm over here with balls in your There's just so much to do in this game, and just to be able to further immerse myself into this game with VR and a joystick was just such a pleasure. To the point to where I now consider this game a VR game and have moved it into my VR folder because that's where it belongs. Tutorial time. Quick disclaimer before I go into my tutorial. Though what I have figured out works, it is not perfect and is merely just a workaround. And if Hello Games implements official HOTAS support, it would be wildly better than what I have. And also, this tutorial is for people who have this game on Steam. I'm not sure how to do this anywhere else. And yes, I will also be explaining how to do it in VR. I recommend restarting your PC to start. Plug in your joystick and open up Steam. Go up in the top corner, click Steam, Settings, go down here to Controller, and click General Control Settings. And first, with all these checkboxes, uncheck everything. It should all be blank. Go down and click Detected Controllers. This is your joystick. Then click Define Layout. Here we're going to map all the buttons that are on your joystick, but this also brings the first issue I had with this method. So what we're actually doing is telling Steam to think of the joystick as an Xbox One controller. So think of it like we are moving the Xbox controls onto the joystick. And that brings the big problem I mentioned, because in doing this, we are at the mercy of what the control layout is on No Man's Sky for the Xbox controller. For example, if we go online and see the Xbox controls, we see that rolling is done by the left and right bumpers, and pulse engines is done by holding both bumpers down. So if we wanted to map our roll to our X-axis of our joystick as if this was a real flight sim, we actually made it impossible to use our pulse engines because we need to hold down both inputs to do so. So knowing that, we now have to map our buttons to what we want. And how to do this is click on the button we want to map. You can also use the little diagram to see what button we are choosing. Click on the name of the button, and if it highlights in this small box like this, it is waiting for an input from your joystick. And your joystick might be different, and if you want to map your joystick customized for you, go for it. But as a quick guide, I am now going to run down all of my controls that I found most comfortable, and you can follow along. So primary action, which is fire weapons, I want as the trigger. Go back, which is boost, I want as this thumb button I have here. Territory action, which is change weapons, I want as this middle button on the base. Secondary action, which is landing the ship, I want as this button here. Left click stick, which is scan, I'm going to put as this button here. Left and right shoulder, which is roll that I mentioned earlier, I'm going to add as these two buttons, and remember, holding both of these is your pulsed engines. Left stick X, which is your joystick itself, I'm going to move the joystick to the side, and left stick Y, I'm going to move the joystick forward. Left trigger, which is slow down, I put as down on the little thumbstick on the joystick. And lastly, right trigger, which is throttle or speed up, I put as my little throttle here. Some of you might have the full actual thing, but for me, this is what mine looks like. We'll actually come back to this, but for now, make sure to click save and click no thanks. Now we're going to fix our pulse drives. If you're comfortable with pressing both roll buttons for pulse drives, you can skip this step, but I want it as its own button. So first, go into your game library and then right click on No Man's Sky. Click controller configuration, and in this new window, go to flight settings, and we're going to change the right stick. Click it, and here change the click action to pulse engines. Now we have to go back to the controller configuration we once were, and for right click stick, I'm going to use this button right here. And now I would only have to press this for our pulse drives. And the rest you can leave blank and just make sure to click save and click no thanks. So boom, if you start up No Man's Sky, it should be able to work on flat screens no problem. But if you boot up the game and start flying around, you'll notice that the joystick's Y-axis is backwards, meaning pulling back on the joystick sends you down, which is wrong if you want something close to a flight sim. This is an easy fix. Go to your game settings, control options, and set flight controls to inverted so your flight stick acts like a real flight sim. And if you plan to play this in VR, you actually would have to change the setting in normal desktop mode as well, because if you change it in VR, you're only changing the setting for the virtual joystick, but we want the physical one to change. So boot up the game in 2D first, change the setting, and it will translate over to VR. And for desktop players, you're all done. Go out, have some fun. But for all my VR boys and gals out there, there's an extra step, but it has to do with the method of telling the game that you are switching from your VR controls to your joystick in real time. So start Steam VR, turn on whatever motion controllers you have. If you see the gamepad icon, that means Steam VR recognizes the joystick is plugged in. And then you're good to start up the game in VR. So while in VR, you use your motion controls to play the game as you would regularly. But when you hop into a ship, you have to tell the game that you're not using the VR controllers anymore, but now you're using the joystick. To do this, you have to stop all inputs coming from your VR controllers and then start a constant input from your joystick. And with your VR controllers, not only are the buttons an input, but so is the motion. So fully take off your controllers, set them down, and make sure they're still not wobbling like mine do all the time. And I recommend pushing your throttle for your constant input. It may take a second, but then it should switch over to all of your joystick controls. And whenever you choose to land your ship and get out and you want to start your VR controllers again, just do the opposite. Stop all inputs from your joystick, pick up your VR controls, press any button on the controller, and you're back. Just make sure when you're going back to VR controls to flip off your throttle, because if inputs are happening from both of them, they'll fight and go back and forth like this. Also for takeoffs, the game for some reason doesn't like to switch to the joystick when you're landed, so if you try and swap on the ground, it'll take forever for the game to switch over. But if you switch after you've taken off, the switch happens instantly. So in real time, get in your ship, take off with your VR controllers, and then set down the controllers, flip that switch, and you're full speed ahead with the HOTAS system in VR. And that's about everything to know to how to set up your joystick for No Man's Sky. But sadly, there is still some of those imperfections I talked about earlier I should mention. One thing is my joystick does have a twist, and it should be mapped for the side-to-side turning or yaw. And why I chose to give the turning to the x-axis instead is because we cannot have the previously mentioned roll as an axis. It has to be two buttons. So instead of the x-axis doing nothing, I chose to have it used for the yaw for a more comfortable experience. Maybe your joystick is different to where it actually has a left and right, but for me, I had to completely exclude the twist function, so it just does nothing. Also, you might have noticed I have completely excluded this button here on my joystick, which you think I should map to something because it's a pretty accessible button. But the reason why I did this is for some godly reason, I had to actually hold down the button to use any of the other buttons. So if I wanted to shoot, boost, scan, or land, I had to hold this button down and then press the other button I mapped, which is wildly annoying to where I actually had to tape it down so I didn't have to worry about it, and now it's a fully functioning joystick. I've done everything to try and fix this, got another of the same joystick, tried to change things in the Steam and game settings, nothing has worked for me. But if you have a different joystick, this probably won't happen to you, but as a disclaimer, it might. So yeah, my joystick, it's a piece of crap, but I guess I got what I paid for. If you made it to this point, thank you for going on this journey with me. My tutorial might have seemed a little long-winded, but I just wanted to explain every single detail I could because I had to figure out all of this with just one Steam community post and hours of trial and error. And with how great this game is, I just wanted to do it justice to make sure all of your experiences could be as good as mine. And that's about it. Thank you so much for watching my video. Subscribe if you want to see more. I got more videos in the oven. And don't forget to leave a like and a comment telling me what you— oh shit! Oh, man. Computer, you alright?
I am here, sir.
Good. Looks like we've stalled. Do you think you could jumpstart the engines for me?
I'm having trouble. The engines are not responding.
Give me a sit rep on the ship.
Retrieving the ship's diagnostics. Here's what I found. Warp and hyperdrive, non-responsive. Matter extractor, damaged. We've also suffered major damage to the ship's main circuit boards and the main computer.
Wait, so what are you saying? The ship's broken?
Well, not fully, sir. Everything mechanical, such as the engine and the fuel pump, is undamaged. Most of the electronics are fried, but not all. Flight controls, the main doors, and myself are fully functional. But without the ship's main computer, I have no way in communicating with any part of the ship.
So I'm in a fully functional ship, but have no way of starting or controlling
it. It seems we are dead in the water, figuratively speaking, of course.
I mean, there's gotta be something we can do, right?
I've been trying. Our communications are destroyed, and we are currently in an uncharted system, so help is not coming. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but life support is also gone. Oxygen supplies has stopped. We may only have a few hours of air in the cabin. It's hard for any computer to comfort their pilot in times like this, but it seems our time together is running out. Sir, panicking will only shorten the time we have.
I still have some air in my suit.
But sir, at that point...
I know.
Why did I even do this?
The asteroid, sir?
No. Becoming a traveler.
To explore the universe, I presume. To unlock the secrets of space.
Yeah, but space... It scares me, computer. The fact that empty space, just nothing, is something. It has a temperature, it can be measured. It's something. It's never nothing. And if everything is something, then what am I? I just spent so much time wrapping my head around it. And when it becomes too much, I spend so much effort trying to distract myself away from it. But the fear is just overwhelming sometimes.
Then, why did you become a traveler, sir?
Because it has to be done. What will we be if we stop halfway through a race? We'll never see what the finish line looks like. Even if it scares me, I just wanted to see it. I guess I see my finish line now.
Well, sir, even though your chapter is coming to an end, just know that it is never over. Just like you said, sir, it's never nothing.
Is there anything we can do?
I'm sorry, sir.
I guess sometimes there really is nothing. Computer? How's the scanner?
The scanner didn't make it, but I still have the saves of the orbiting planets when we arrived in this system.
Can you tell me about that planet's moon? What's the atmosphere like?
It's a dead moon, sir. High in metal resources, but it has absolutely no life.
I don't care about the moon's life. What is the atmosphere?
It has none, sir.
And didn't you say the ship's main circuits are all fried, but not all? Doesn't that mean I could just reroute the power?
Well, theoretically, sir, but the ship needs something to start the connection. I can't just move the power. It would need a console input to activate.
Wait, that means I can still hijack the power. That's good enough for me!
Sir, I do not know what you're planning, but I can guess, and I heavily advise against it.
I have to try, computer. I have to. Ready?
Sir, are you sure about this?
Yeah. Let's do this. 3, 2, 1.
Sir, try and climb back aboard immediately.
I'm trying! Okay, computer, I'm back on.
Sir, engines are running at full power. And congratulations, you are now flying the first ever convertible spaceship.
Good.
I know you hate it when I interrupt you taking in the view, sir, but we really should get going.
Okay. Let's go.